This is an oral history interview with Kathleen Rosemund by Sharon Green, conducted on May 11, 1988, at 430 Center Street in Newton, Massachusetts. The interview is part of the oral history project of the Newton Free Library. It covers life in Newton, especially the Newton Corner area from 1920 to 1950. I'd like to know if any of the important landmarks in Newton had significance in your life.
Well, the Newton Library, Follow Park, Norumbega Park. That was the three landmarks that I loved.
And could you tell some of the things that you did?
Well, in Follow Park there used to be a playground years before Bird Park was built. We used to all congregate down at Follow Park. It was only a little bit of a place, but we loved it down there. It was beautiful. It had the wooden covered bridge, and in Christmas time it had this huge Christmas tree, and the bulbs were like the bulbs you use in a lamp today, and not anybody ever touched any of those bulbs. But nobody destructed anything around. The Norumbega Park, we used to go up there to go on the merry-go-round all the time and see the bears and the monkeys and everything. We used to go Sunday afternoons, and there was concerts up at Norumbega Park. It was beautiful up there.
Okay. And what kind of concerts were there?
There were operas, there were singers and bands. There were bands that played all the time, and singers. The beautiful singers. It was just like opera singers. And everybody used to go up there with their families. My mother and father, my brother, my sister, and myself. And everybody, you'd meet everybody from Newton up there. We used to go in the open-air cars. Up there, the cars were all open-aired. And if it rained, you pull down a shade. And the streetcars, the open-air streetcars, went right from Newton Corner right up to Norumbega Park. Mm-hmm. You'd stay there for 3 or 4 hours, and you'd have a wonderful afternoon up there, just like the concerts that were down near the Perkins Institute across the river. There used to be a bandstand there.
Mm-hmm. What institute?
The Perkins Institute.
Oh, Perkins.
Perkins Institute for the Blind. There was a bandstand right below that, and on Charles Bank Road, there were no apartments there at all. It was just one big field, and everybody used to go on Wednesday night on that park down there.
That's Newton Corner.
Yeah, they're right down here, Charles Bank Road, and everybody used to go down there and bring what they call a piece of punk that would keep the mosquitoes away, light that up and keep the mosquitoes away.
Well, what was it exactly? What was punk?
It was like a little stick, a little stick that used to, I don't know, it had something in it that used to keep the mosquitoes away, and we used to whirl that around. But everybody used to go every Wednesday night down to the park. Nobody ever locked their doors. Everybody used to meet each other. Everybody in Newton Corner knew each other.
So that was the central
There was another central place, yes. So Newton was beautiful in those days. It really was beautiful. And then, of course, from Follow Park, it came up to Mr. Burr. When I went to Bigelow School, the Burr Park, that was named after Mr. Burr. There was a big estate there. It was all apple trees all over the place. We used to give the children apples all the time. There's so many of them.
Where is that exactly?
Burr Park. It's right across from the Bigelow School.
Oh, okay.
And he left that to the city of Newton, and they made that into a playground. So then the playground, we didn't have any more playground on Follow Park. It was all up at Bird Park. It was beautiful in those days. There's everything to it. The city of Newton spent an awful lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Then the Newton Library. I remember the Newton Library when it had the high steps, and you went to the library to register to vote. You did your voting there. You did everything there. And every Sunday afternoons in the winter time, they had the big fireplace going in the room. It's still there. downstairs, a big fireplace. They had the fireplace going, and someone would be there to tell us all stories on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, this happened only in the winter time, but it was beautiful. The library was the center of everything. Everybody met there, the politicians, everybody met to vote and register.
When was that?
That was in about 1920.
And were there branches at that time, or this was the
Oh
only
no,
one?
oh no, this was the main branch down here. But they had a branch. They didn't have any branch up at Nonantum. This was the only one in Newton. Then they had a small one up in Newton Center. Then they had one up in Auburndale. But there were only about 4 or 5 branches, and none of them were ever built by the city of Newton. They were given by the wealthy people that lived in Newton. All the libraries down, the one down here it was too, because the people that were interested in seeing that we had a library. It was a beautiful place. Of course, now they've taken all the steps away. And the steps were so high that the women here that lived in the Vernon Court, there were a lot of wealthy women that lived here, and they started complaining they couldn't climb the steps. So they donated the money to take the steps off and have an addition put on.
And were there special services for older people?
Oh no,
no.
You just went in and out. Every book that there was in the back of the book it said if you want to leave any money to the Newton Library, you wrote it out that, and there was an awful lot of money that was left before the Depression to the library, and that was that.
I understand you come from a long line of library users.
Well, my mother used the Newton Library before I did, and I've used the Newton Library for 75 years, and I've loved it. I started because the children's library was there, and upstairs was the grown-ups. All the bottom floor was. In fact, I remember the library. The artist name. Her name was Miss Hossball, and she was a charming woman. Everybody was different. There weren't any destructions of the books or anything, and the children were well mannered, and we all dressed up on the Sunday afternoon. We dressed up to go to church. And then after our dinner, we'd have a dinner on Sundays in those days. Then we'd go down to the library for a story hour for 2 or 3 hours. Then we'd all come right home. There was no television, no radio or anything. We had nothing else to do. But they were all so well behaved. There was a beautiful railing around the library. Oh, a beautiful railing. And during the Second World War, it was the Second World War. It was taken down and given. It was all steel or something. It was a beautiful place. The Newton Library was. You should have seen all the trees around there, the flowers and everything. Then here in the Vernon Court, I lived here in the Vernon Court now. But in those days, it had awnings on all the every window in this Vernon Court had an awning on it. It was a beautiful place. Everything was kept, no destruction or anything in those days.
Oh yeah.
But the Newton Library was a second home to me. We were all readers. My father was a great reader. My mother was a great reader. In fact, we were all readers. My mother used to read us when we were 3 years old. We'd take our naps in the afternoon. My brother and I, she'd always tell us a story. So that we went right down to the library. As soon as we were grown and old enough to, my mother took us down.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you if there are any politicians in Newton who impressed you or who are especially memorable.
Ned Childs. He was mayor of Newton for, oh my goodness, I couldn't tell you, there were so many years.
Well, what period was that?
That was from, oh gosh, I don't remember.
Around
1910, I think he was mayor of Newton. He never owned a car. He lived up in the Nonantum district. He lived up on Watertown Street, and he used to play the organ in the church up there on Chapel Street. And he walked back and forth, back and forth. He never owned a car.
And was City Hall down?
No, City Hall was in Newton. No, City Hall was up in West Newton then. City Hall was there. That's new up there. But it was beautiful. And then we used to skate up at we used to skate down Flower Park. There used to be a little pond there underneath the bridge, and we used to skate there. It isn't there today because they started the destruction then, and so they had to take it out of there because there were broken bottles in the water. But we all learned to skate down there under that little pond that was under the bridge in Flower Park. It was a beautiful pond. Then we used to go up to walk through Cabot Woods. We lived on Jewish Street. And we used to walk up through Cabot Woods. We could walk up there right to Below's Pond to skate because my mother was a very well-known skater.
Oh, really?
And back to her shoe skates. The shoes were separate from the skates, but the skates fitted into the heel. And they're up at the Jackson Homestead. And a lot of my mother used to also go up to Brattle Hall for her dancing, her sewing, and her lending library. The three of them combined in one once a week. She used to go up there for all the different things, bicycle up from Fresh Pond where she lived.
Brattle Hall, was that something?
It's still down there. It's still down there in Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
It's in Cambridge. That's where my mother learned to skate, was on Fresh Pond, because they used to skate there then. And her shoe skates are up at the Jackson Homestead now. And all the mementos, the dance cards and everything else that she had when she was down at Brattle Hall are up there too, are up at Jackson Homestead.
Oh, that's good.
And the next thing that's going is I'll show you the picture out here. That my grandmother did punch. They didn't do crewel work. They did punch work, something. My mother was born in that house. It was in 1875, and that's going up the Jackson.
Oh, okay. Let's see. The big events of this century were the World Wars,
Yeah.
1 and 2. Were you affected by that? Were there any special hardships at that time?
No, we didn't have any hardships at all.
During the First or the Second World War?
No, we didn't.
You didn't eat differently because certain things weren't available?
I don't remember. We ate just the same, it seemed to me.
Did you do anything for the troops? Did you send things
Well, the
abroad?
First World War, I was only in the 8th grade up at Bigelow School, the First World War. All I remember was Joyce Kilmer's poem, there's nothing as lovely as a tree or something. That's all I remember. We had an old teacher, Miss Dyer. I think she was about 100 years old. Then the Second World War. Honestly, I look back now and I stop to think, just when the Second World War started. 1940.
The first?
The second.
The second, 1940.
Because I had one son that was born in 1942, and I remember coming home. He was born the day. He was born at 10 o'clock in the morning, and Roosevelt had just declared war. And he was born, and I remember coming home from the Baker Memorial. He was born at the Baker Memorial Hospital, and coming down Nonantum Road there, and the arsenal. I was scared stiff. All the cannons were pointing outward on the arsenal down there.
That was all the time?
That was during the Second World War. Yeah. See the river, the Charles River used to come way up. They filled a lot of that in, but there was only a narrow road down there then. But now they have a nice wide road. But they filled it in, and all the cannons they had, though the arsenal was working 100%.
Was this a special alert or something, or?
Oh, they did that. I don't know. I guess it was. I don't know that they thought they were when the Germans were coming over here or not.
Okay, and where were you living then?
Where was I living then? On Ricker Terrace. No, I was living in St. James Street. St. James Street. I was living then.
Okay.
And
That was a single house, or?
No, two-family.
Okay. And did you have a victory garden?
We had a little one. We had a little one in the back. The First World War, my father had the biggest garden around. Up on Pearl Street. There's all two-family houses there now. My father had a huge victory garden there.
And he only did that during the war, or all the time?
It was during the war. He grew his potatoes, and part of our cellar was dirt. And he used to put the parsnips and the carrots and the cabbages and the potatoes in that.
Okay.
We were never deprived of really anything.
Uh-huh. What about the Depression? Were there any deprivations then?
My father lost his business.
What business was he in?
He was in the plumbing business. And my brother didn't have a job. My husband, we were very fortunate. My husband worked the whole time.
How old were you then during the Depression?
Oh, I got married in 1928. So we were very fortunate that my husband had the same position for 48 years.
And I think it was Mayor Weeks at that time?
He must have come about that time, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he was there then, Mayor Weeks. I remember him.
Do you remember anything the city did to help?
Help him what?
To help the people during the Depression?
I don't remember because I wasn't, didn't bother me any, so.
Okay.
I had friends I know we went to visit friends. We used to bring our own food. We had lunch. I'd bring my own food because I was about the only one whose husband was working steady.
Okay. But in the streets, you couldn't see evidence of people
No.
in bad shape?
Oh, people. Oh, that's when the Franklin Street and Waverly Avenue all went. That's when the Vernon Court. These were all huge apartments, and the people they were all on. Their money all came from stocks and bonds, and they'd lost the stocks and bonds. That's when they made them into small apartments here. These were all 7 and 8 room apartments.
Okay, so the other people had to leave?
Well,
or they stayed but in smaller accommodations?
Absolutely. Most of them were old and they passed away. And Waverly Avenue, all those places are up there. Oak Hill Village, all those places. They were beautiful. Oh, there were beautiful homes up around there. They tore them down and built these modern houses. There were estates, girls that I went to the Bigelow School with. They lived in estates, but they were soon torn down. They lost all their money. All the wealthy people had the money invested in stocks and bonds.
Wow.
That's when Newton started to change. Was the Depression, the first years of the Depression. Now about 1930 or 31, it started to change. It became crowded. Before that, you knew everybody. After, I don't know, up around that way, Waverly Avenue around that way, I didn't know anybody because a lot of the people had lost their money.
Mm-hmm. But at that time, you said it wasn't crowded. Were there farms in the area?
No, there weren't farms. Oh yes, up in Newton Center there were the Estes farms. There were a lot it's now Oak Hill Village. There were all farms up around there.
And what did they grow or what did they raise?
They grew everything. All vegetables. We used to go up there. They had farm stands. We used to go up there once a week, every Saturday, usually get our stuff for things my father didn't grow.
And did they have cows? Could you go up there
Oh
for milk?
yes, it could. Oh no. It seems to me there was a. Oh, I must have been awfully small though. I remember there was a milkman, and he had, I think it was Bridge Street up in Newton, and he had cows up there. Mr. Fry, I think his name was, and I think the big house was standing up there. Yeah, and there was all a big farm around there, and he had all cows.
So he would make a milk delivery all over
Yes,
the city.
always they delivered. Well, he was one of the many around. Oh, there was so much empty land across the street here, and the doctor lived here. A doctor lived there, and Dr. Cummings lived there. Now they got the bank over there. There was so many of these places were empty. There was lots of beautiful land.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry to say they're not anymore. Of course, the children's library was a beautiful place. The Mrs. What was her name now? What was her name now? I'm starting to think. Honestly, my mind is going. The two women lived there. One were married and one wasn't. And everybody that graduated from the 8th grade, of course, the 8th grade graduation was in those days. They'd be outside with flowers. Oh, the beautiful rose garden they had there. Oh, but here, they left it to the children's library afterwards. But, the beautiful rose garden they had up there. It was the summer house up there. It was a gorgeous place.
Just next to the children's library?
You crossed it.
Yeah.
Well, over here.
Uh-huh.
The park.
Oh, well.
The big yellow house where the thing is. No. The children's library is still there. I don't think they're going to. Of course, the city of Newton was awfully mean. They've never kept that up. It's a shame. You know, my daughter-in-law's got a degree in library science from UCLA. Graduated from BU.
Uh-huh.
And then they moved out to Kathleen. I lost my husband, my son, 3 years ago.
Can I ask you about the schools that you went to?
I went to the Underwood School. There was only a little wooden school, and there was beautiful homes all around the town.
That's for elementary school.
There was only up to the 3rd grade, the 2nd grade.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went up to Bigelow.
And did you walk to school?
Oh yes, you know, nobody ever rode in those days. Cars were few and far between.
Uh-huh. And after that, where did you go?
Went to Mount St. Joseph Academy. After I graduated from the 8th grade up here.
Okay, and that's a parochial school?
It's down in Brighton. It was a private school run by the Sisters of St. Joseph.
Okay. And after that?
And I went to Parsoness in the physical education school.
And where is that?
That used to be at 779 Beacon Street. I always remember that number.
Okay, that's in Boston.
Yeah. Between Brookline and Boston.
Okay. And what things did you study?
Physical education. Oh, I studied anatomy, psychology, physiology, kinesiology. Don't forget how many years ago that was.
And were you a physical education teacher?
No, I just did some practice teaching in my 2nd year. I went and got married, but in my 2nd year I did some practice teaching down the North End.
Okay. And can you...
Then I never worked afterwards.
What do you think the quality of instruction? Do you think that was good?
Well, not compared to today.
No.
Was nothing compared to today. Really. Today they have everything. Massage work. They used to do the massage work down the city hospital, and all the old drinkers used to come in and get the massage in the back. But now the insurance companies was first started to keep them in. Now they call it what is it now they call them?
Physiotherapy?
Physiotherapy, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can you say something about the transportation system in Newton?
It was wonderful transportation system. We used to always use the train. We had a station depot right down here, you know. Where the 128 is there. And the streetcars, there were the old streetcars. We used to have the streetcars to Cambridge, to Watertown, to Natick, Framingham, all over the Newtons, as far as Framingham. And it seemed as if because they only ran about once every hour. And the Bemis bus, the Bemis streetcar used to run down Adams Street by the church. And then we used to get the bus ran up Watertown Street, up to Avondale, all over. Oh, they were a wonderful service. Of course, my father lived. All the railroad was up above. It was up above. Then they dug it down afterwards. All the railroad barons came to. They all lived up in West Newton Hill. They dug it away down, but my father remembered it when it was on the surface.
Okay, and when did you get your first car? Your family?
Oh, about 9. I'm trying to think. I know it was a Chrysler. We thought we were great. About 1925. That was the first one.
And who drove?
My brother.
That's all, just your brother?
No one else was allowed to touch it.
Well, did he buy it?
No, my father bought it.
Okay, so how did your brother learn to drive?
I don't know. I don't remember. He learned to drive. I know that. He was a very good driver.
Did he have a license?
Oh, yes.
Okay. At that time, were there street lights, traffic lights?
Oh, no traffic lights. No, there weren't enough cars out.
Okay. And if it broke down, what could he do? Were there garages?
Oh, yeah, they'd get the, they'd get the car there, come hell or high water, they'd get the car to a garage.
But were there garages around here, or you had to go into Boston?
No, there were garages. Dwyer's garage was down there. Oh, there were 3 or 4 garages around here.
Right in Newton Corner?
Yes. It was very good service.
Uh-huh. And they had gas?
Oh, gas and oil, repairs and everything else. You didn't have to go far, really. Of course, now Washington Street is loaded with cars and everything else now, but in those days, no. I remember the Memorial Day parade, and believe it or not, there were Civil War veterans in it. They used to have the horses and the coach. They used to sit in a buggy, like, I don't know what it was, a coach.
With horses?
Yeah, horses. They used to have a coach and horses. And then they'd be driving the Civil War veterans. They'd be sitting in the back waving at all of us in the street. Oh, that was a great day, the 30th of May. We used to all go up to the Newton Cemetery. They had a big ceremony up there. We used to walk. Everybody used to walk up there. Oh, it was wonderful. Because there was nothing else to do. There were no radios in those days. I remember when we got our first radio, oh my golly, it was terrible. Kind of had a funny thing. We thought we were wonderful because we had I think it was a Philco.
Well, were you one of the first ones in the neighborhood to have one?
Yes, to have a radio. And they had like an antenna. It was all like little threads of thread along. And every time my mother was a wonderful housekeeper. Every time she'd knock them down and break them. My father never fit, but he'd always fix it. We thought we were great, though. The first time I ever heard it on the radio was a John McCormick. He sang. I think he was in Boston then. and he sang over the radio. We thought it was. We all had ear things on our ears. We had ear. Oh, you couldn't hear it. Oh my goodness, you couldn't stand there and hear it. You had to put ear things. We had 3 sets. We used to fight over them. There were 5 of us. We used to decide who was going to have the ear, ear muffs on your ears to hear you could hear the radio.
Was that expensive at the time to buy a radio?
I don't remember. Then I remember our first, yes, that was, yes, and then we used to have then we changed that. We got a kind of a motor or something like that. My mother used to keep it inside the dining room. And the darn thing used to leak.
The batteries?
The batteries used to leak in those days.
Do you remember any other programs you used to watch?
No.
Was there only one, or you had a choice?
Oh, there was a choice. There were 2 or 3, but not many, believe me.
And news? News as well?
No, there wasn't any news in those days. You read the newspapers. There were all the newspapers, the Post and the Globe.
Yeah. How did you get them? Were they delivered to your house?
Oh, they were delivered. No, they were delivered right to your door.
Okay. Let's see. And then, when was it that you got your first telephone?
Well, my father, as I remember, I was old enough to know telephone because my father was in business. He had to have a telephone. So that I must have been about 10 years old when we had a telephone, our first telephone. One of the great big long black ones.
On the wall? Oh, no.
Oh, no. They didn't have them on the wall. You had them on a table or something like a table, or mostly on a table. The long black ones.
Okay. And did people spend a lot of time talking on the telephone, or it was just rarely used?
No. It was just rare. It was only used when it was supposed to be used. When, kind of an emergency or something like that.
And it wasn't a dial phone, right?
Oh my goodness, no. No, you took up the receiver and the operator would answer. It used to be down where the back of the library there. That was the old telephone building there. All the operators they used to have, they had loads of them. The operators answer.
And would you know personally the operators, or they were strangers?
No, they were strange. They came from everywhere, the operators did. It was a good position in those days.
It was mostly women?
All women. It was all women.
Let's see, what about television?
Oh, no such thing.
Well, when did you get your first television?
When it was in, tough to think.
Probably in the 50s?
I know my children were old enough to have their friends all come in and go all over the floor. We had to walk over them because we were the only ones that had a television set around. It was a small little one. Oh my! Let me see. My children must have been about 1950. I don't know whether it was in the Second World. I can't remember the Second World War or not.
I think they got popular around in the early 50s.
Must have been then.
Okay.
It was a little bit of a thing. You could just about make out the people that were on the screen.
What about hair and clothes styles?
Well, the hairstyles were just plain Dutch. They used to call them Dutch clips.
When was that? In the 20s?
The early 1920s. And then my mother used to have a dressmaker come in and make our dresses, my sister's dress and my dress. And then when I got old enough, I used to go in town My father had a charge account in Jordan's, and I used to go in there and get all my clothes.
So either...
I bought them. Most of them are outside of what the dressmaker made. My mother would buy the material, and then the woman would come in and make them.
But you'd go into Boston for that. You wouldn't buy cloth from around here?
My mother would buy all the cloth. I wouldn't know anything about it. But when I got old enough, though, I used to hop on the street car and go in town, meet the girlfriends, and we'd go shopping for clothes. Then there used to be and then Newton Corner, there was a hat shop. I remember having a beaver hat. My uncle had a beaver hat made for me. Oh, I was a queen in those days. I had the beaver hat made. And Miss Cunningham, she and her sister had this dress shop. Then McCammon's.
In Newton Corner?
Newton Corner. McCammon's was the shoe shop. We used to get all our shoes there. Everybody got their shoes there. Then there was 2 or 3 dress shops in Newton Corner. We used to get a lot of our clothes there.
But none of them are left now.
Oh, no. They're long, long gone. Long time ago.
And
But then we had the short skirts and the long skirts.
do you remember the point where you stopped wearing really long skirts and they became
I remember.
knee-length?
I remember I had a dress. We used to call them the King Tut dresses. They were
The
down
King
at,
Tut dresses?
Yeah, King Tut.
How were they?
They were down at your ankles. And my girlfriend's mother was a dancer on the stage. So she and I went to New York. Her mother, paid the fare. We went to New York. It took us hours to get there by train. And of course we wore our King Tut our dresses. And her mother took one look at us and threw us into a cab. And then so when we got to the hotel, she said, "Now stay right here." And she went out and bought us 2 short dresses. It had already gone from Boston was way behind in the styles in those days. And I remember she got us each 2 dresses. "Now you can go home tomorrow." She said, "Show your dresses." We went home and everybody was still wearing the long dresses, and we had the short dresses on.
Well, these King Tut dresses, were they very tight or very loose?
Oh,
and
loose.
full?
They were either tight or loose. I remember I was loose with the sandals. Used to wear them with the sandals. Oh, we thought we were the queens, but when poor baby's mother got a look at us, oh, she said, "I might know you're from Boston, because you're so behind the styles." Because she was all New York, And that was that.
Yeah. And would you get your hair cut here, or you go into Boston?
Oh, no, we'd go, right here in Newton. Oh, there were 3 or 4 barbers here. I remember going to have my hair all cut. The women all used to go in the barber shops and get their hair cut when they wanted to.
So the men who cut the men's hair also did the women's hair?
Yeah, I remember that, yes. I had bangs and they call Dutch clips. You had the bangs way down your forehead, and your hair cut like a Buster Brown.
Okay, so they could do it just as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. They did. I don't remember any hairdressers in those days.
And how much would a haircut cost?
Oh, I don't remember. Wouldn't be much.
Uh-huh. Can you speak about your parents, your mother and father, how they happened to come to Newton and where they were born and raised?
My father was born in Dublin, and he came over here with his mother and father. They came over here when he was about 12 years old.
Do you know the date?
No,
approximately?
I don't remember. It was in the 1800s, because he was 92 when he passed away. And he lived in Newton. My grandmother raised 12 children in Newton. My father was the oldest. And my mother was born down in Cambridge and and her mother and father had come from France. And then they settled down in Cambridge. My grandfather had a big farm down there. And
A big farm in Cambridge.
Yeah, a new street. When the Fantasia, I think, was built on it, he had the pond going right through the yard. Everything else, he used to have the frogs because he loved frogs' legs. That was funny. He he was a blonde, and my grandmother was dark. It was just the two of them, my mother and their sister. And then there wasn't that much to do down in Cambridge. And there was a smallpox epidemic. And of course they were way down there, on New Street. Oh, they used to take them hours to get up to Brattle Hall. My mother had a bicycle. Used to bicycle up, to Brattle Hall for her lessons.
When was this epidemic?
It was in the 1890s or something like that. A smallpox epidemic down in Cambridge. Mm-hmm. And so they offered my grandfather a lot of money to just get out and leave everything there because it was isolated, the farm was. And they wanted the whole place, for the patients. They didn't have any other people. Because, see, the Cambridge Mount Auburn Hospital, there was only one little building, the Cambridge Mount Auburn, years ago. There was one building. That was all. Because my mother said she'd gone there when she had scarlet fever. And then my mother had been visiting people down in Gloucester. When she came home, the place that my grandfather sold the house and bought another house on Chilton Street down in Cambridge. And it was set in, the house was near a huge piece of land because he always had to have his garden. And today, for goodness sakes, after that, they bought that house. They lived there in Chilton Street. And there's about 10 houses built on the land that he used to farm. And in back there was a big pond back of the house. We were never allowed to go near there. My grandfather put up a fence because he was always afraid. It wasn't supposed to have any bottom to it. And now it's all filled in and people are living there.
But you kids couldn't swim?
Oh, no. No, we didn't go near the place in those days. And we went to swim, we went down to like City Point or places like that, or Crystal Lake, places like that. Oh, we were taught to swim all right. And then we used to go skating all the time. We had a wonderful time. I had a wonderful childhood growing up.
How did your parents get together? How did they meet?
Oh, my father and mother met at some kind of a dance or something like that. And then after they were married, they came to live in Newton. My father wouldn't live any place else but Newton. Because my mother didn't like it, but she came up with them. But everything went fine, no complaints at all. We had a wonderful childhood. I had a very devoted mother and father. They were good to us. I had my grandmother and all my cousins. I had about 100 cousins that lived in Newton in those days. I still got about 50 left in the city of Newton yet. Of course, a lot of them are married and live away. None of my own family live in Newton. They live in Beverly, St. Louis, Beverly Hills, in California. They live all over the place.
Okay. You say things have changed a lot, that there wasn't any kind of vandalism or very little crime?
Very little.
Back then?
You never heard of anything.
Well, what kind of things would appear in the paper? What kind of things would be
the news
scandalous?
of the day, or something like that. Of course, I didn't start reading the paper until I was about 12 or 14 years old. Of course, it came, my father and mother would read it, but we never would.
But there were no scandals, no
I remember there wasn't. No, I don't remember anything. We never locked our doors. We'd go out, for goodness sakes, never thought of locking our doors.
Were there policemen on
Oh,
the
there were
beat?
policemen. Oh, yeah. They used to walk around. The
And
policemen
did you know them personally?
I remember a Mr. McNeil. He was a policeman. And who else? There was a few others that were policemen. I forget the names, it was so long ago. Mr. Mahoney, he was a lieutenant, Mahoney.
Well, how did they keep busy if there was nothing?
Yeah, but they used to walk all around. You wouldn't dare do anything wrong. Because they used to walk all around the streets and everything else. And there's the firebox that they'd chime in, you know, because the old city hall up on the old police station was up in West Newton, and it was an old place. And because I remember my grandmother, she'd arthritis very badly, my father's mother, and to pay her taxes, she used to have one of her sons wheel her from down Adams Street where the church is, all the way up to West Newton to City Hall to pay her taxes. And they would come out to her to bring the papers out to her because she wouldn't get out of her chair. And one of her sons had to wheel her all the way up and back and forth.
Okay. What about fire service?
I don't remember. As I remember was...
You don't remember any fires or?
No, I don't remember any. There's all firehouses down here. I don't remember any.
Okay. If before the...
They used to have ring the bell. They used to have the bells. They'd ring... they used to have what they call the firemen that worked part-time. And they used to have little bells in their houses that would start ringing when they had an alarm system, but they would ring in their houses. And I remember they'd run down the street to meet the fire cars, and the ones, some of them had horses, you know. And
so if you had a fire, you'd run to a fireman's house, and he would start ringing the bell.
Oh no, they'd be run from headquarters. They had them. In those days, they had a very, very efficient system.
Okay.
And then they had a huge bell in different parts of Newton that would ring out. One bell would mean it was down one section, two bells would ring it was up another section, three bells would ring another section. I remember those old... I remember the last time I remember the horse and the horses with the fire, dragging the fire engines. I was going down.
Okay.
The most beautiful sight I remember seeing, I was about in the third year down at Mount St. Joseph's Academy down in Brighton, and the big fire station was down at Brighton. It was the last engine that was pulled by horses. It was the most magnificent sight to see those four horses, the two lead horses, and the two coming down that street.
As fast as they could.
As fast as they could, and their manes were flying around, their tails were going, and to see the men up at the thing, it was the most beautiful sight. You could hear the clap, clap, clap of the hoofs going. And my husband's grandfather, when he came back from the Civil War, he settled in Boston. He came from Methuen, and when he came back from the Civil War, he settled in Boston and became a fireman. He used to buy all the horses for the city of Boston. Okay. And in fact, even today, I think there's about 3 or 4 of the Rosemunds still in the fire department. They've been in the fire department since the Civil War.
Oh, okay.
One of the other Rosemunds were... I think that was my That was one of the McAllister. That was a McAllister because my mother-in-law was a McAllister, and my father-in-law's father used to build the sails for all these shipyards over in East Boston. So the great big trawlers that they used to have to go. They are all sails.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it was quite a family.
Going back to the fires, if there were a fire, would people come from all around to help?
Oh yes, they always had volunteer firemen there. They used to you'd see them running down the streets when the thing went. Used to the fire hose station wagons used to come up Washington Street and they'd know the direction where the fire was because they'd have to learn, where the different bells, and you'd see them hop on they had a thing on the side of the fire truck. They'd hop on there and hold on to tight.
If they just went through the neighborhood, they.
Oh no! It would be in the main street the fire would go. Then they knew just exactly where the fire was. There was all volunteer firemen there. Oh, I remember all the firehouses. They were wonderful. Oh, those bells were beautiful. The big bell is still down in Newton Corner.
Oh, there by the turnpike.
Yes, that's one of them. And there was one before that. There was a firehouse down there before that. I don't know where that bell went, but that's the bell that I used to remember. I remember the most.
Okay. Let's see about city services. What about trash collection, for example?
Oh, it was beautiful. They used to have the street men. You clean the streets. Oh, our streets were kept so clean.
Every day?
I don't know. They were always seemed to me. I remember the men used to work in the city in those days. They really worked. They used to keep the streets so nice and clean.
What about the rubbish from the individual houses? How would you get rid of that?
In barrels. They were put outside, and the city would collect them in the big trucks. Some were drawn by horses years ago, and then they got motorized after that. No, they were very, very good. And the streets were kept so nice and clean.
Okay, but individuals wouldn't burn their own trash?
No, I don't remember us. I don't remember my father burning anything. Everything was put outside in barrels and collected. Oh, the city of Newton has always been very, very well kept that way.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Did you always have running water and?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate.
Okay.
Our bathtub, we used to have what they call a tin tub. We had a bathroom with a tin tub. It was set in wood.
And the plumbing, the water came right into the tub.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. It all came in.
And where were you living then?
We were living in Fayette Place, I think. Fayette Place we lived. There, I remember that tub then.
And you know when you began living there?
Oh, I was very young.
Before you were born, you think? Your family
Oh
was
no,
living there?
I think I was about perhaps 3 or 4 years old when we moved there.
Okay. And when did you say you were born?
1906.
1906. And what about electricity? Did you always have electric lights?
No, we had gas lights. I remember the mantles. They put them and they'd crumble. Oh my! You have to be very careful when you put the. I don't know how they were because it was so long ago. I don't remember, but I remember there was the gas lights.
What are you saying? The crumble?
The things that you put over them to make them light.
Oh, the glass
things.
chimney?
Yeah. Chimneys. The thing that went inside them. Chimneys.
Uh-huh.
But I remember the gas lights. And then the ironing I remember was by gas too. We didn't have the electric irons. I don't remember the electric irons till later on. I was about 12 years old.
How did the gas irons work?
They connected them with the stove, the gas stove, some kind of a pipe or something like that.
Oh. And did you ever have to heat the iron on a fire? Or that was before?
Oh, that must have been before my time. Because I remember with the gas iron. Because I know it was connected with a pipe. You had to be careful when you ironed. You had to iron near the stove. Because the cord wouldn't be that long.
Oh, it was like a cord or a tube?
A tube or a cord. I guess it was a both.
I never heard of that.
Oh yes, we had that.
Okay, and did you do the ironing? Who did the ironing?
Oh no, my mother.
Did you ever have help in the house?
No. One time my mother was sick. We had a housekeeper for about 3 or 4 months. That was all.
Okay. And did she go off to the hospital?
No. Stayed home.
Okay. I don't imagine you saw a doctor except if you were sick.
That's right.
You never went for just a checkup if you were feeling fine?
No.
Okay. And they would come to your house? You'd have to go to the office?
Oh, definitely they'd come to the house. I was Dr. Stanton, Joseph Stanton, was the one that I had when I was born, and my sister was born. Dr. Stanton, my sister was born in December, and Dr. Stanton came. He lived in Washington Street there, and he came in his horse and buggy. Before that, he came in a bicycle.
How long would it take before he would come? If you called him in the morning, when would he come? 2 days later? Or?
No, they'd come a couple of hours later. And he'd just stay all night, because my sister was born December the 10th, I think it was. And there was a snowstorm. He'd just stay in our house all night long.
Did they have midwives for
I don't remember
deliveries?
them. No, we always had my father always had a doctor for us. Dr. Stanton, Dr. Gallagher were our doctors. I forget the other ones. Dr. Marston was another doctor we had.
Okay. Did your mother have all her children in the hospitals or some at home?
No, the house. Everybody had their children at home in those days.
Oh, you were born in the house too?
Oh, yes. Because Newton Hospital only had I remember going up there. I had scarlet fever too. And it was only the one building up at the Newton Hospital in those days.
Uh-huh.
One building. And my mother was the same way down at the Mount Auburn Hospital. And she had scarlet fever. She said she remembers just the one big building that was all they had.
Okay.
Oh, that's what I say, that look around and see the buildings.
Let's see. In Newton Corner, what was the ethnic makeup? Were there all different nationalities?
Oh, it was Irish, Yankees. That was about all. Up in Anthem was the French people that came up there. They came to work in the factories up in Anthem. But down Newton Corner, no. Different types. There were very few foreigners. Okay.
And people in Newton Corner did what kind of work? Did they stay here to work, or they went off?
Well, they stayed in town. They worked in banks. They were stockbrokers.
There are a lot of banks?
Well, there were 3 or 4. My father always... It's the Bay Bank now, but it was the Newton Trust Company when my father used to go down there. But see, we had the train service, and the men from all around there, they were very well to be. their own they were stockbrokers, had their own shops and everything in those days, because the train service there was wonderful in those. They never took a streetcar, or either they're the chauffeurs. Those were the days when the cars that they had chauffeurs to drive the wealthy people in town. Oh yes, Mr. Flanagan up there that we used to call a Millionaire Flanagan up there with Aquinas now. That was a beautiful estate. He was a wonderful man, and there was a lot of wealth. Oh, West Newton Hill was filled with wealthy people.
And Newton Corner?
All Newton. See, we never used to call it right Newton Corner.
Oh, no?
Because Newton Corner was all stores.
Just around this area where the turnpike is now?
That was all stores. You'd go down Newton Corner to the store. But I didn't figure I lived in Newton Corner, because we lived off Newton Corner, because we considered the Newton Corner where the stores were.
Okay.
And see Newton all around here, all around Newton, around there. They were all wealthy people lived there. They had big estates. Oh, they had beautiful estates around here. And my father saw the church over here. That's the second church that was built up over here, because the first church that was built, my father sat in the stone wall across the street from the old church, the old Elliott Church, and they used to have what they called drays. They used to bring the granite from New Hampshire. They had about 6 horses pulling them. He saw that church built. He saw that church burned down, and they built the other one. There used to be a big stone wall across the street.
You're talking about the Congregational Church, right?
Yeah, the Elliott Church, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's what they called it, Church Street, because there's so many churches there.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
See, the Baptist churches on the other end, the Episcopalian churches on the other end, Congregational churches on the other end. So they named it Church Street.
I see, for a reason, yeah. And so was the church a big part of your social life?
Oh, our church was Our Lady's Church up in Newton. Well, they used to have what they call field days and picnics and things like that. It wasn't that much of our life. You know, we supported it, and my family supported it.
Mm-hmm.
But we used to support all the field days that they had and all the times that they had.
And did you go every Sunday?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You went to church. You went to church and you voted in my home. If you didn't vote, you were outcast. You didn't go to church, you were another outcast. Oh, yes, we went to church every Sunday. I had to go to Sunday school there, because especially when I went to Bigville School, because see, I didn't go to a caste. They had the catechism there, and your catechism, but after I went to Mount St. Joseph Academy, I didn't have to go up there to catechism classes, because I had the religion down the academy.
So on Sunday, was it just a matter of 1 hour or 2 hours?
That's all.
In the morning?
That's all.
Like from 10 to 12? What were the hours?
The children used to go to 9 o'clock, what they call 9 o'clock Mass. And that was a low Mass. And the older people would go to 10 o'clock Mass. That was a high Mass.
Okay. Were there any kind of restrictions on Sunday? Like blue laws, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that on Sunday?
I don't remember. My father wouldn't pay attention to them anyway. There were. No, we used to go out and...
What about drinking or buying alcohol?
Oh, no, you didn't have that in our house. Nothing like that.
Okay. Can you speak about meeting your husband and your courtship?
Oh, I just met him at a party. He came from Boston. He thought I lived out in the wild docks way out in Newton, because we wanted to buy a house up in Wellesley, and he said, nothing doing. Newton is far enough for me to come. And then we used to go to the movies and dances around. Because Mount St. Joseph Academy had they used to have some beautiful proms and dances. We used to go to I used to go to all those. Oh, you had lovely evening dresses, and you dressed real nice when you went to those times. We used to go to the Metropolitan Theater. That was just open. That was a beautiful place.
Where is that?
That's where the Wang.
Oh.
The Wang is now. Oh, that was a beautiful theater. And of course, we had a lovely theater down here in Newton. It was a beautiful theater. First, when I was a youngster, we had the old Opera House, and that went out. Then we had the Community Theater.
Where was that?
Right down here in Newton Corner.
Oh.
We used to have that right across the street from the Savings Bank, right in the opposite side of the street. We had a beautiful theater down there. We used to go there. Oh, we went there at least once or twice a week.
For films?
Yeah. Oh, there were.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, my husband and I used to go to a lot of plays in Boston.
Was there any theater?
Oh, yeah.
Productions here?
Oh, not in Newton, no. We used to go to Boston for that. Some lovely theaters.
And how long were you courting?
For about a year.
Okay. Did you have a big church wedding, or?
No. My husband had been married before. He was a widower. We didn't want anything like that, so we just went out and got married quietly.
Okay. But do you remember other big weddings in the neighborhood?
There's some beautiful big weddings, but they cost so darn much money. And if you didn't invite a certain person, they'd never talk to you afterwards. So it ran into a lot of money when you got married. It was cheaper to go away and get married, or go up to the priest's house and get married. My sister did that. She married a non-Catholic. And because if you had a neighbor that you forgot to invite, they wouldn't talk to you afterwards.
So it's better just to go off and do it
Yes.
in a quiet way. Okay.